and welcome to another edition of Highways Presents with me, Dominic Browne, editor of Highways magazine. Today we're going to be talking to Hardstaff Barriers. We'd speak to Sarah Compton, Highways account manager at Hardstaff, and Nigel Bullock, solutions manager. It's a great conversation. They're a bit of a double act and bounce off each other, and we cover a huge amount of ground from the latest regulations, CD 377, which I understand not everyone is up with, so you definitely need to watch this video. The focus is, of course, on safety, barriers, vehicle restraint systems. So everybody's number one priority. And we're talking to these guys who, what they don't know isn't worth knowing. They know the sector and the whole market inside out. So we get an overview of the national market. We focus in on the shift in the market from steel to precast concrete. Why precast concrete is like Lego. I know all engineers love Lego, so stay tuned for a bit of Lego chat. We talk about regulations, of course. We talk about driverless cars and the future. We talk a little bit about transition after Brexit. We talk about their passion for safety and how their expertise is out there in the market for free. They're offering masterclasses to their clients, and they can go and speak to you about all of the details of the joined up solutions they offer. I should say Hardstaff Barriers is part of the Hill & Smith Limited Group, a very august group of companies and divisions providing end-to-end solutions where they can really help you from the very beginning find the best overall safety strategy for your route. They do everything from temporary to permanent barriers, steel to concrete, and everything in between. So it's a really fascinating talk. It's really fun, and there's a lot of detail there that will help make the roads in your part of the country a hell of a lot safer. So please stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hello, Sarah and Nigel. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Morning, Dominic.
Hi, Dominic.
Sarah, if I could start with you, tell us a little bit about your role at Hardstaff Barriers and maybe a bit of history about the company.
Well, I'm Sarah Compton. I'm the Highways account manager for Hardstaff Barriers. I've worked with Hardstaff now for nearly 3 years, but with the Hill & Smith group of companies for just under 13 years. Hill & Smith Limited actually started in the early 1800s and was predominantly galvanised steel. So the aim of our business was to supply anything you saw on the highways, parapets, gantries, and of course the barrier. But the mindset of engineers and designers was changing, and it was looking more towards the concrete precast barriers. Our chief exec, to keep with the times, acquired Hardstaff Barriers in May 2016. They were already a well-established precast barrier supplier.
Nigel, what about you?
Yeah, I joined Hill & Smith in 2019. I've been in the highways industry and road safety industry for over 30 years and been involved in introducing road safety technologies in various different countries. So my role at Hardstaff is promotion, providing solutions for both temporary and permanent vehicle restraint systems, predominantly with the reblock precast concrete barrier.
So Sarah, you mentioned the Hill & Smith Group. That's your parent company, part of kind of a wider umbrella company. Can you tell us more about your relationship and how it benefits Hardstaff Barriers to be part of this wider group?
So we already work very closely with all of our group companies, Asset BRS in particular. We have the same MD, Peter Wilkinson. So Reblock actually have both permanent and a temporary solution, and Asset VRS at the moment promote the temporary side, and they've got quite a few kilometres out there now already. We also work very closely with Hill & Smith, the steel VRS systems, to try and offer an end-to-end solution. We're all about offering the solution, so that is why we're working very, very closely with all of our group companies to be able to provide that.
And it helps to draw on all of the different skills, you know, the steel from Hill & Smith, the precast from Hardstaff Barriers, and Asset VRS providing a kind of link between the two, perhaps.
And not forgetting the parapets from Varley and Gulliver as well. And the other positive as well, with us all working so closely together, especially with Asset, is that we share resources, plans, so we literally do work together.
I remember the former chief executive of Highways England, Jim O'Sullivan saying concrete barriers in the central reservation, they're one of the biggest interventions and best interventions for safety you can have. It's probably one of the best value for money investments in road safety on the strategic road network there is. Those were Jim O'Sullivan's words. Is that something you agree with? And can you explain a bit more about that trend?
I do agree, and it's with VRS systems, the vehicle restraint system itself, they all vary in their performance offerings, and the main difference between the concrete and steel, even at a comparative performance level, is that from a longevity and a maintenance, so a whole life cost perspective, concrete is generally beneficial. So initially the upfront cost to install concrete is greater than that of steel, but if you look over the life of the product and the maintenance issues along that lifeline, concrete becomes significantly more valuable and less cost to maintain. That's one of the real challenges that we have, is educating the industry that it's not just about the per meter barrier cost, it's about what you can do with the whole solution. The system shouldn't require any repair or realignment post a design impact. And that's a really important feature within the concrete system that you can't really achieve with steel, because by its nature, when steel's impacted by an errant vehicle, then there will be some deformation of that system, and that's the way that the steel works. The concrete is a more rigid system. It's got a life expectancy of at least 50 years. So the investment that Highways England have made and the change in the strategy to go to concrete is the right solution. That is evolving further with precast products compared to other products that have been traditionally used to date. And the precast barriers offer another opportunity for different solutions for design. There's more flexibility in the system, and of course the quality of the units is controlled away from site. You have less people on site, so it's all about reducing and managing the risk to actually implement that concrete vehicle restraint system.
We are talking a little bit here, for viewers who don't know, we're talking about a little bit about passive and non-passive road safety. Is that right? Passive safety would be more steel, where it's supposed to give, to allow, to soften and cushion the impact. And the rigidity of the concrete barrier, that's important in the central reservation and other areas. But can you explain why you'd make the choice between one or the other?
So it depends on the specific design and the requirement of the location. And traditionally, historic non-proprietary steel vehicle restraint systems, whether in the centre or in the verge, were tested to N2 containment. This vehicle restraint systems would be upgraded to higher containment levels in specific locations. That requirement has changed, and as we've evolved and the vehicle dynamics in the country have changed, there's more heavy vehicles. The heavy vehicles that we've got move faster, the road alignment is different, and the nature of some of the horrific incidents that have occurred with the higher vehicles smashing through the N2 containment steel barriers is what really focused the part of the mindset change into upgrading to a high containment barrier. So most of the concrete barriers that you see now in the centre reserve are tested to H2, so a higher level containment, which means that when you test your product to EN1317 at N2, you impact it with a 1500 kilo car at 110 kilometers an hour at 20 degrees. The H2 performance level requires an impact with a bus, different speeds admittedly and with the same angle, but it's about a higher performing system than the steel vehicle restraint systems that were traditionally used. The vehicle restraint systems, abbreviated to VRS, that we promote within the Hardstaff product range now is all about being a solutions-based provider. We really welcome the opportunity for early engagement, sharing our knowledge, and trying to ensure that the designers ultimately have sufficient knowledge to design the best solution for VRS systems at the best value.
And one of our major schemes, one of our first major schemes, was on the M5, junction 24 to 25. So Nigel and I worked very, very closely with all the people involved, Highways England, the installer, and came up with a solution together.
And we've got a video coming up now of the excellent work Hardstaff Barriers did with Highways England on the M5 from manufacturer to design to installation. Check this out. So, Nigel, can you tell us about you're working closely with Highways England?
Yeah, so working with the VRS contractor for Area 2, barrier services, we set about designing a precast barrier solution for a section of the M5 in Bridgewater. It was very interesting in that it was the first development of a hybrid centre reserve. So generally when centre reserves are hardened to facilitate the implementation of a concrete vehicle restraint system, the drainage all goes underground and the full centre reserve is hardened. On the M5, we managed to utilise the existing filter drain system and saved huge costs and offered best value. Within the design parameters, the barrier was placed on a part hardening of the centre reserve, not a full hardening. And where the hardening was implemented, a crossfall was put onto that hardening to allow all the water that would potentially gather on that hardening to actually go into the filter drain and not onto the existing carriageways.
Just explain quickly, where do these guidance documents come from that set the standard for the industry?
So the testing standards come out of Europe for EN 1317, so all the member states join committees and they would share their knowledge and expertise and come up with the parameters that we need to test the systems to. That is generally designed around the vehicle dynamics. So there's a different standard for America as there is to Europe. And some of the main reasons that there is a difference is because you've got a very different vehicle in the United States than you have in the UK and Europe. With regard to the local standards, then the Highways England and the design manual for roads and bridges create the standards that we have to implement the vehicle restraint systems to. 1317 is split into
a document outlining the performance standard.
Yeah, so that's the document that details what you need to crash test your system to. And within that performance criteria, it's broken down into specific sectors for various parts of vehicle restraint systems. In addition to testing and getting your VRS system qualified for use now with a CE mark, soon to be a UK mark, you also have to follow the local standards. So in the UK, traditionally, the former document we used to use for the application of vehicle restraint systems was TD 1906. That has now been superseded with a new document, CD 377. And there's some important changes within CD 377, and some of those important features talk about the compatibility and interchangeability with systems. So CD 377 is broken down into specific titles for the vehicle restraint elements, such as concrete barriers, steel barriers, and the applications of crash cushions and terminals, etc. But at the beginning of each section, every section has a statement that says that you must ensure that if you join systems together, they're compatible. And our ability within the products that we offer within the group give us the strength to be able to adapt and work within the individual operating companies within the group to design, develop, and then subsequently crash test connections between the systems.
Sarah, you're an account manager. You must see a lot of the sector. You go around, used to go around the country. Can you tell us about what the challenges you're seeing in the UK market today?
We're finding that we're still getting inquiries that don't actually refer to CD 377. So
the sector caught up with the new standard?
No, so what we're trying to do at the moment is we've spent time going through the standard to see how it relates back to us. And we've actually now taken the time to add that into our technical presentation so that we can share our knowledge and then how it refers back to and how it's relevant to our barrier and the way that we work.
Sarah, can you explain to us some of the benefits of precast concrete barriers?
Yeah, sure. So reblock, one of the massive benefits of a precast barrier is the fact that it's manufactured off-site. So with that comes so many benefits. One of them is the fact that weather is no longer a risk. So we can still manufacture, we can still, we can keep stock. And because of this as well, early engagement means we can plan installation way ahead, no matter what the weather is. It's not going to stop us putting that barrier in. There's no risk of delay on site, and with that as well, there's the quality control. So everything is obviously it's checked as it's made. It's checked before it goes on the load, and that again, it just reduces the risk phenomenally. Compared to other barriers that or other installations that have gone ahead before now. We can plan delivery. So back to carbon footprint, this is the hot topic. We can plan ahead, so there's no idle vehicles, there's no wasted journeys, and we also manufacture as close to site as possible. Again, reducing those emissions, and then you've got the on-site as well. While we're on site, within next to no time, we're not in anybody's way, and yeah, these are big huge benefits, and it's cost-saving benefits, not as a whole.
Cost saving and carbon saving, and makes it more efficient when you put it in. It's kind of, I'm imagining kind of Lego blocks, concrete Lego blocks. You can just kind of slot in together.
That's exactly what it is.
Brilliant.
Seriously, easy as
that. You should have led with that, because engineers love Lego. So once you just say it's like Lego blocks, that's it. The orders will come flooding in. What about more long-term trends in highway design? Is that having an impact on VRS systems? Are we seeing driverless cars and that debate having an impact in your sector yet?
I think that's a really interesting topic. Driverless cars are brilliant, and evolution is great, and etc. I think that the infrastructure will inevitably change and continue to evolve, but I think we're a long way away from have a completely automated infrastructure system. I wouldn't expect it to occur in my life, but you never know. I think it's a brilliant technology, but even technology goes wrong. And I think there'll always be a need for vehicle restraint systems. There'll always be a need for maintenance. And interestingly, there now is an autonomous impact protection vehicle used in maintenance, which is a fantastic development to remove people from having to drive the impact protection vehicles. It's still a trial that's undergoing, but I think with regard to mainstream traffic, until we all start flying around in the air, we're always going to need vehicle restraint systems. We really are.
Sarah, I understand Hardstaff Barriers, you're leaders in the field, experts, and And to kind of help share best practice, you offer a series of technical presentations and various different kind of training facilities for the sector. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yeah, to be fair, it's not generally training, it's to share our knowledge of the industry and of our products. And at the moment, we're probably doing them on a weekly basis. We've presented now to over 400 attendees, and they range from estimators, designers, installers, even Highways England have had a presentation. And we're finding that it's getting a lot of interest at the moment, and probably because of the topics that we cover, such as CD377. So we share our knowledge on how it is actually relevant to our barrier, and we offer solutions, and we talk about our products and the suite of products that we can supply.
I think working in the barrier sector, you are really responsible for saving lives at Hardstaff Barriers. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you on a daily basis, going to work, doing the things you know could save a life out there that day?
We're all about protecting people, places, and infrastructure. And we don't just operate in the highway sector. We also have interest in hostile vehicle mitigation, as an example, where we are protecting large volumes of people by deploying systems that prevent or protect against vehicle-borne attack, which is a really important part of the business that we do. We've got some installations on some high-profile locations, including London bridges, and we're also the chosen contractor for the deployment of the government-owned National Barrier Asset, which is a series of products that are utilised for protection of people and places. I think from the highway sector, everything that we do is about improving things for society, including saving lives. And as an example, I've been involved in crash cushions for most of my career, and the introduction of crash cushions into the UK was a real mindset change. There was a certain amount of resistance in the early days because the systems were deemed to not be required because our infrastructure was designed differently to that of America, where crash cushions were really born. However, there has been a mindset change, and CD377 actually states now that crash cushions shall be used to protect any fixed objects or hazards. Whenever a crash cushion is impacted, it's a life saved. And that is a really important part of what we do. We're all very passionate in the business. We're passionate about road safety. We're passionate about offering best value, and we're passionate about making sure that we improve things for society.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing work you do. It's been great to talk to you, Sarah and Nigel. Please keep doing the work you're doing, because you are saving lives out there on the road network every day, and we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate your time. A lot is coming up that could change, but I think one thing's always going to remain the same. We're going to need barriers, and we're going to need protection on the roadway, and thank you very much for providing it. To all of our viewers, please stay tuned. You can find out some contact details for Hardstaff Barriers, so you can get in contact with them and find out more about this amazing company and the amazing work they do, from manufacturing of barriers to early contractor involvement, discussing the type of scheme and giving advice on how best to design the overall scheme, and then of course to swift and speedy installation with off-site manufacturing to aid the process. It's just like Lego, and I know how much you engineers love Lego. So, you know, do yourself a favor, get in contact with them. At the end of this video, you'll see an invite to one of their technical presentations with the contact details and a little bit more about what you can find out at one of those technical presentations. They're free, they're masterclasses. Take them up on the opportunity. Thank you very much, and safe journeys.